Mr. Butt, your time is up. We'll now move to Mr. Cleary for another round.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Finlay, I have some questions, and my questions are actually a follow-up to some questions that Mr. Cuzner asked. We know that there's a problem everywhere with employment insurance in terms of turnaround time, in terms of delays, which is a major problem, obviously, for people who need employment insurance. They have no other income. Now, your officials said that by mid-November, their stat is that 80% of claims were processed within 28 days. And that's better than it was. 80% of claims are processed within 28 days. That sounds good. Again, it's better than it was. But your officials also acknowledge that the benchmark has been changed from 21 days to 28 days. It's been increased. The benchmark has been increased. Now, your officials were asked point blank when that change was made, when the change was made in the benchmark, but they couldn't say when. My question is, why was the benchmark changed? Was the benchmark changed because you didn't have the personnel in your department to handle the claims? Is that why? Can you expand on that?
I can explain a bit here about how this works at the beginning of someone's claim. First of all, when someone applies for EI, there's a 2-week waiting period. That gives you 14 days. And then as part of the rules of the program, there are biweekly reports required from claimants. They need to inform us, indeed, that they continue to be unemployed and that they are looking for work. So if you think about 14 days plus 7 days gets you to 21 days, and yet you've got biweekly reports, that would take you to 28 days. So I suspect that there was something in the way we were managing and delivering the program dealing with those time frames that did result in the change in the 28 days.
I find it hard to believe that, again, as Mr. Cuzner noted, with all the horsepower here, that you can't say why or when exactly the benchmark was changed. I find it hard to believe. I want to move on to another question. I only have another minute. Ms. Finlay, you backtracked, and thank you very much for doing that, on some changes to the working while on claim regulation. I'm wondering whether or not you're considering backtracking on any other changes that you've made to the employment insurance system, changes that impact, in particular, seasonal workers in Atlantic Canada as badly as they do.
Well, I've been very clear, and when I've been in Atlantic Canada and indeed everywhere else, is that our goal is to help these people get as much work as possible. They'll be better off for it. Their families will be better off. That's why we're bringing in the Connecting Canadians with Available Jobs assistance so that they can find work. If they're seasonal workers and there is indeed no work available for them in the off-season, EI will continue to be there for them, just as it always has. But with the right to EI comes a responsibility, and this has been there for generations, that the individual has a responsibility to demonstrate that they are actively looking for work and that if reasonable work is offered, they will accept it. Again, on the basis that we want to make sure that when people work, they're better off than when they don't. And so we're helping them to find work because we know, even in areas of very high unemployment, that there are skills and labor shortages. And the communities where those shortages exist are going to be better off if people are working. We want to make sure that the EI system doesn't discourage people from working, but indeed helps them to get the jobs that are going to make them and their families better off.
Monsieur Lapointe.